Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're doing this thing called 5-minute book review. And in under 5 minutes, I give the book a number grade, 1 through 10, and I tell you why I gave it the number grade. Today's episode is about Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann. It's a fantastic nonfiction written by a New York Times bestseller. He is a writer for The New Yorker. He's been a writer for them since 2003, I believe. He's a fantastic narrative-driven nonfiction writer, and he takes on the challenging story of the Osage Nation in the 1920s. The Osage Nation gathered their wealth from oil, and because of that, they were the victims of theft, murder, and Lord knows what else from people that essentially hated them and wanted to steal their wealth. And one by one, these Native American people started dying. And it's set in the perspective of this one woman who sees her friends and her family die in front of her. One set of people literally exploding in a house fire. So yeah, essentially one by one, these Native Americans are showing up missing. They, some of them are mutilated in ways that they can't even comprehend who this person is anymore. Some of them aren't even found dead for weeks after they were murdered. And so it becomes the mission of these investigators to figure out what happened to these people and can they figure out who murdered these people. And yeah, so this whole book from start to finish starts the story at how they acquired their wealth, and the end they figured out who did it and who deserved life in prison. David Grann is a narrative-driven nonfiction writer, which means that he wants to create a story out of a massive, segmented sets of separate stories, and perhaps from people who have never even had contact with each other. And so Grann does what seems to be impossible, and he grabs different pieces from people's perspectives and he combines them into what seems to be a cohesive story. And he does just that. In this book, Grann creates a super cohesive story. People who hadn't even met, but their stories matched. He was trying to figure out and separate fact from fiction, which as a narrative-oriented nonfiction writer, it often seems really impossible for those writers to figure that out. And oftentimes they let the reader decide what's fact or fiction. And Grann does not do that. Grann goes the extra mile. Grann loves to figure out the truth in history. I think one of Grann's strong points in this book is his strong narrative. A narrative about white supremacy, a narrative about finding a group of people who can't defend themselves, who can't speak up for themselves in the current state of the law, and take advantage of them and figure out ways to suck money out of those families. And I think Grann does a really, really great job at also implying that, hey, maybe in today's world, the government's doing the exact same thing, but it's just in a different font. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've got to give credit where credit's due. Grann creates an amazing narrative in Killers of the Flower Moon. However, where Grann's a little bit underwhelming is his long-windedness. Grann seems to sometimes take a point that's not super valuable and really stretch that out to its limits. And sometimes I'm like, sometimes I noticed that whenever I was reading this book, I was like, okay, fine, I get it. Right? I get the point. Why are we still on this? And oftentimes it would lead to nothing. And so I would definitely take some points away from that. It was really frustrating at times because I hoped that point would lead to something, and it didn't, unfortunately. And one last thing I want to give, one more positive before I end this review. Grann took a story that collectively for hundreds of people lasted over 100 years. And he took all of those fragments of those stories and he put them together to create a narrative. And I think that's super valuable. And I think that needs to be credited. So yeah, those are my thoughts on David Grann's Killers of the Flower Moon. I would give his book a low 7. A low 7. I think it's a really good score. I'm going to be really strict with these scores. So if you have a book that you want me to review and be harsh on, please comment below. Have a good one.